Here tonight, the 2026 IndyCar schedule is finally here. Are you satisfied or disappointed with the outcome? Next year, on Memorial Day weekend, the Canadian Grand Prix and the Indianapolis 500 shouldn't directly overlap. Was it a good move to push the start time back in Montreal? iRacing dropped a trailer previewing NASCAR 25 earlier today. What's the latest update on NASCAR's first console game in the last few years? Hello to all of our viewers watching here in the United States and around the world. Welcome to Grid Tonight, your weekly motorsports news program. I'm Kobe Lampin, and with me as always, Joshua Birch from JB Motorsports and Matt White from Grid Endurance Performance Index. We encourage everyone to interact with us in the chat, support us through Super Chat, and visit gridnetworktv.com for our latest content. Now here's Josh with our top story this evening.
Thank you, Kobe. Good evening to yourself. Good evening, Matt. Good evening, everybody. So, finally, we know yesterday the 2026 NTT IndyCar Series schedule was released after weeks of curiosity. Now, once again, we'll see 17 races with some notable changes compared to the season that wrapped up a couple of weeks ago in the Music City. Now, the 2026 IndyCar season will kick off at a familiar occasion on the streets of St. Petersburg on Sunday, March the 1st. IndyCar's first two races of the year will have two consecutive doubleheader weeks with NASCAR. Now, the Craftsman Truck Series will join them at St. Pete. Then the Cup and O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, including the ARCA Menard Series, will be part of a mega weekend with the IndyCar in the series return to Phoenix Raceway on Saturday, March the 7th. IndyCar then returns to Phoenix Short Oval Circuit for the first time since 2018, and the race will take place on the same day as the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series race. Now, after competing in the Valley of the Sun, IndyCar will race on a third consecutive weekend in March with the new Dallas Street Circuit, as the Grand Prix of Arlington is Sunday, March 15th. Then they get off a weekend and a return to action on Sunday, March 29th at Barber Motorsport Park, with the race in Alabama moving up from early May. Now, Long Beach will be the only race in April again as the teams build up to the IMS Open test, which is expected to take place on the week of Barber's old spot on the calendar to kick off the month of May. Now, the 110th running of the Indianapolis 500 is scheduled for Sunday, May 24th. Now, the second consecutive year will see Gateway take place under the lights in prime time on a Sunday night, June the 7th, after a huge success earlier this year. Now, on Sunday, July 19th, we'll see another oval race taking place in prime time. Nashville Superspeedway moves up in the schedule from the season finale. Now, this is a big deal for IndyCar because the FIFA World Cup final is taking place on Fox on the same day and will serve as the lead-in for Nashville. Now, following the World Cup trophy ceremony, IndyCar will take the green flag in the Music City and the race will finish under the lights. Nashville will also see more racing action, with the race set to increase to a 400-mile event. Now, IndyCar's only international stop on the calendar to Canada will move from July to Sunday, August 16th. It will also move from downtown Toronto at Exhibition Place to the city of Markham and a brand new street circuit. With Iowa Speedway predictably falling off the schedule after poor attendance and lack of promotion, the Milwaukee Mile will become a double-header event again on Saturday, August 29th and Sunday, August 30th. After 2 years at Nashville, the 2026 IndyCar season finale will return to WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca on Sunday, September the 6th. Overall, the 17-race schedule will see nearly an even mix of tracks with 6 ovals and 6 road courses and 5 street course races. IndyCar President Doug Boles said this diverse schedule will test adaptability and will truly celebrate the most competitive team and driver at the end of the season. That should have been celebrate, I should have said. Graphic courtesy of Penske Entertainment. It's a long calendar. It's a long, confusing mess of how we've got here. Kobe, starting with you, what's your overall opinion on the 2026 schedule?
Yeah, Josh, interesting schedule they put out. At first, I was thinking, oh man, I'm disappointed that we didn't have this and we didn't have that. But the longer I took to think about it, there's actually quite a few positives. to take away from the schedule. So I think the best thing I'm gonna do is just put it on the screen and start from the top to give you my opinion from top to bottom. Obviously, starting the year off, on St. Pete and Phoenix, I think it's a big deal that we have two NASCAR doubleheader weekends with IndyCar. The NASCAR audience, is bigger than the IndyCar TV audience. So I think that it'll be really good to have both series, at the track on the same weekend. Really looking forward to seeing the Truck Series, join IndyCar, Indy Next, and the other series there on the streets of St. Pete at the start of the year. And then Phoenix Raceway. I'm happy we finally have an oval race before the Indianapolis 500 again. I remember, before it fell off the schedule, Texas Motor Speedway was taking place before Indy. And I think it's good, for the teams to, start testing and tuning their oval setups. Obviously, a short oval like Phoenix is not going to really do much for you in terms of, the aero package you'll be using that during the Indianapolis 500, but still, having an oval race that early in the season before Indy, I think that's a huge positive there. And also, you'll have, as you mentioned, Josh, you'll have ARCA, the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, currently known as the Xfinity Series, and you'll have the Cup Series there. It'll be interesting to see if any driver will try to take part in both the NASCAR Cup Series race and IndyCar race. I think it'll be really fun to see someone try to, run both of those events. But who knows if we'll see the Phoenix double or not. And then obviously there's a lot of excitement with the street race, in Arlington, Texas, and the Dallas area. Looking forward to seeing how that goes. Already built on a lot of hype around that. And then Barber Motorsports Park, end of the month. I think it's really cool that, we have 4 IndyCar races in the month of March, because usually, you'll have St. Pete, and then you have to wait, and for a while until you see another IndyCar race. I think if you constantly keep IndyCar in everyone's mind during the month of March, it'll be really good for the series to build that early season momentum, head into April and then the month of May. So got to give props to IndyCar for filling out the first half of the season that we're going to have constant IndyCar racing. And also looking at this March-April schedule, I think it's a good thing that IndyCar is going to, avoid a lot of, the craziness that is March Madness with the NCAA tournament and also the Masters as well. So that's another positive there, where they're going to, avoid, a situation where their TV ratings could take a crash, and then obviously get to the month of May with the IMS road course. I also think it's going back to the month of May, I'm actually going to say that I think it's a good idea to swap Barber and then the IMS Open test, because it didn't really make much sense to, go to the IMS Open test, then go to Barber Motorsports Park like we did this year, then go back to Indianapolis. I think it makes a lot more sense logistically. You go to Barber early in the season, then Long Beach, Open testing, you get on the road course, and then you go back to the oval for practice, qualifying, and then the race itself. Really smart there, and also excited to see the Gateway is going to be coming back. Again, with the race in prime time, I thought it worked really well on Father's Day weekend just a few months ago, and hopefully we'll see the ratings reflect that once again. And Nashville, I'll be honest, I'm disappointed Nashville is no longer the season finale. I really thought, the Music City was the perfect place for IndyCar to end its season. I feel like that is really good to end it on an oval track. But as you mentioned, Josh, as well, there's some good opportunity here for IndyCar to get a much bigger audience, because we know lots of people are going to be watching that FIFA World Cup final. It's going to be an extremely hyped event, and there's going to be millions and millions of people watching. And as soon as that trophy ceremony is over, maybe you'll catch some new eyeballs on IndyCar. So maybe someone will see will be interested. They'll start watching, and then they'll fall in love with the sport. I know stuff like that happens in mysterious ways. Yeah, so I think that if you're moving Nashville from the season finale, if you can be led right out of the World Cup into IndyCar, I think that would be really cool. And also can't complain about more oval racing. Really happy to see that event's been moved to a 400-mile event, and that is also going to end under the lights as well. But yeah, certainly going to be disappointing that Nashville won't be the season finale moving forward. And on August 9th, of course, we're all excited here at Grid Network that the Grand Prix of Portland's going to be coming back. I'm sure we'll have Joe out there again next year. Maybe we'll have someone tag along. Looking forward to seeing what the new Markham Street Race in Canada is going to look like. And Milwaukee, thought they put on a great show this year. Happy that race is going to return to a doubleheader. And, just to get an additional oval race, since Iowa's falling off the schedule. And as you say, Josh, not really surprised that Iowa's, fell off the schedule. I honestly thought this was coming because, as you mentioned, the attendance, both races, not good at all. And then the lack of promotion. Remember when Hy-Vee was promoting the event and had all those concerts, the event, felt really big. And then we had a new partner for this year's race. And I'm not trying to knock the partner of that race or anything, but they did, but what they did was nothing compared to what Hy-Vee did, and it was real disappointing to see Iowa fall off the schedule. Maybe it'll come back someday in the future, but who knows? And then obviously WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca is going to be the season finale. Again, I thought that was an interesting choice to go back to Laguna Seca because it really hasn't produced the most thrilling racing for the most part at that track, but it's still a really good track. I don't hate Laguna Seca or anything like that. Really like the corkscrew and all of that, but all in all, you have to ask yourself, is Laguna Seca really the best place to crown an IndyCar champion, especially after Nathan Brown from Indy Star was. I read an article that he put back out there how people were saying that Laguna Seca is a sleepy place, to try to host a finale. And Nashville, you got the Music City, all the excitement and stuff to do there. Can you compare it to Laguna Seca? I'm scratching my head as to why that place is gonna host the IndyCar Championship moving forward, and we'll see if that's going to be a long-term answer for the series. And one last note before I throw it over to you, Matt. One other thing I wanted to note, it could have some future, grid EPI implications, and what's been a problem, for the last few years. There's not a single clash with any of the IMSA Michelin Endurance Cup races or the 24 Hours of Le Mans, which is a fantastic site. So if you're an IndyCar driver, you can put together a program where you can run Daytona, Sebring, Watkins Glen, Road America, which is the new 6-hour endurance race next year, and also the Motil Petit Le Mans, and also the 24 Hours of Le Mans as well. So IndyCar drivers, I'm sure they're really happy that there's not going to be a single clash with any IMSA endurance race or the 24 Hours of Le Mans. So I'm sure we could see some IndyCar drivers getting back into sports cars next season more often than not.
Well, good evening, guys. That is a great point, Kobe. I love that, and it's strange, isn't it, when we talk about partners working with partners? Well, you take IndyCar away from NBC, which is, of course, the TV broadcaster for IMSA in the States, and then all of this magically falls into place, and we get no clashes. Of course, there will be some clashes with the IndyCar race at Detroit against IMSA, and then, of course, Phoenix. First of all, I'm going to burn a knot, which I was holding back for later, but I'm going to burn it now when prominent IndyCar social media people say the schedule's coming tomorrow, expect surprises. And there isn't really too much of a surprise. March, as you said, Kobe, as you detailed, is looking stacked. I love that. It's great to have Long Beach as round 5, as opposed to the last couple of years where it's been round 2 or 3. That shows where IndyCar have switched their focus. Of course, Thermal dropping off the schedule. That was our only other real race at the beginning of the year, wasn't it? Last couple of years, whether it be for points or not for points. Excited about that Phoenix weekend, second round of the season. Get some more momentum going straight off the back of St. Pete. And of course, Phoenix as the racetrack, of course, losing the NASCAR Championship weekend from next year, as that goes back to Homestead. Now their big prime ticket of their 2 races is this weekend. That would be a great weekend to get to for ARCA, the Grand National Series, whatever we're going to end up calling it predominantly throughout the year, Cup Series and IndyCar, all on the one weekend ticket. I mean, that's big. I kept saying a few years ago about the IndyCar race and the NASCAR race at Indianapolis on the road course being a great thing to try and go to as a fan. Racing, granted, wasn't the best, but as a weekend, it would be really cool. I think that Phoenix one sets up really, really nicely. Interesting that we've got a week break in May after the Grand Prix and before kind of qualifying. That's all sort of a bit more spread out now. And as you mentioned, the open test before the Grand Prix as well. So they've got themselves it is going to be a full month of May in Indianapolis with various things going on the oval and on the road course. But yeah, not too much. They need what they need really. You talk about Laguna Seca being, a bit as the finale. They need their own big blockbuster event finale, don't they? To have as that season finale, be it on an oval. We obviously tried that at Las Vegas many moons ago, and it obviously ended in tragedy back in 2011. That was going to be, the World Championships or whatever it was going to be called for that race, and it was going to be a big thing perhaps going forward, but we never got to see it. They need to have that. I think now the schedule's good. We've got the additions of Markham and Arlington. They're great. Great additions, hopefully. 2 new street tracks. But they do desperately need a blockbuster up in lights season finale, really. Nothing against Laguna Seca. It's a historic track. It's been on the calendar for very, very many, many years. And we've seen some historical moments in the championship or championships through the split era at that racetrack. But as you say, the racing over the last couple of years has been a bit meh. And it to be the season finale, if we've got a championship still on the line, of course, because Alex Palou could have this wrapped up in June next year if he continues to go the way he's going. But yeah, that's perhaps the only disappointment for me. As I agree with you, Kobe, is Laguna Seca being the finale and not somewhere else, a track we know, or somewhere very different and new.
I'm with you on that. I wanted something different as well coming into it. Adam says, I'm very happy to see Phoenix back on the IndyCar schedule. Back in the day, Phoenix started the IndyCar schedule. By the way, I can't wait to see how the Grand Prix of Arlington does next year. Of course, back in the COVID year, we started on and over in Texas and then moved over to Phoenix. But the plan was to start in Phoenix before Texas got in the way and said, no, we can do it 2 weeks early if you want it. So it all sort of fluctuated that year, but everybody nearly had Phoenix as the season opener once again. Mario Andretti won at Phoenix for his last IndyCar race win back in 1993 as well. And let's go Scotty Mack in a Cup car at Phoenix. That is going to be quite exciting, actually. To be backed up as well with IndyCar and NASCAR together. That's going to be quite fun. Joe says, I was hopeful for Michigan to come on the schedule, be a good season finale, but not sure how Michigan weather is in August. Well, it's not that great. We've been there for NASCAR in the past. Hopefully we don't have overtime and penalty kicks to push the start later and a move to FS1 like they did at Portland.
Knowing IndyCar, that's exactly what's going to happen next year.
And we saw the delays that happened at the US Open tennis not so long ago, and we know a certain person that's probably going to be on site for the World Cup final. So guarantee that start time may move for either the game or the race.
Yep, that's going to be fun, isn't it, as well? So we'll just be twiddling our thumbs in the commentary box. However, if England are in the final, then me and Matt will be cheering on anyway.
We'll be doing
and not, yes, it's like, don't screw up again, please. Come on, guys. I mean, come on, the women's team brought it 2-0 now. Come on. Was it 2-1? Would you count it as 2-1, Matt, or 2-0?
Yeah, let's go with a 2-0.
2-0. I agree, 2-0.
Get the World Cup final.
yeah. 66 doesn't count. It was ages ago. So, a few days before releasing the 2026 schedule, IndyCar made a random Saturday morning update on Mexico City. For the last several weeks, we've been hearing positive news about IndyCar racing in Mexico City next year, with negotiations entering the 11th hour and a confidence about this getting underway. But unfortunately, we ended up getting bad news as IndyCar has announced that it won't be racing at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez in 2026. Now, a potential street race in Washington, D.C. was rumored to be a potential replacement if Mexico City didn't happen. But as you can see, that didn't make the 2026 schedule either. Now, Penske Entertainment CEO and President Mark Miles said that while extensive progress was made between all parties involved, the extensive impact from the FIFA World Cup made it challenging to ensure a successful event given the summer dates that were available to them. Now, of course, one of the drivers who've been asking for a race in Mexico City for more than a long time as well in IndyCars, the most popular driver, a Monterey, Mexico's, of course, Pato O'Ward. Now, in a statement, the 26-year-old Mexican driver said that no one wants to race in Mexico more than him, but noted that IndyCar needs to create an incredible event that is built to last. He added that it requires the right date and right year for fans and sponsors to support the event, and remains motivated to continue working with IndyCar on this issue to put together a race in Mexico in the future. Pato's been around Formula E, he's been around Formula One, he's been around NASCAR. Basically, any series that goes to Mexico, he is there. So, Matt, starting with you on this one, how disappointing is it that Mexico City, the race didn't materialize on the calendar? And do you feel confident about it happening in 2027? And is Pato ever going to sort of just go, right, I'm not getting a race?
Yeah, get his race that he desperately wants. Of course, we've been to Mexico for season finale. We're talking about season finales being, a big thing. We've been to them before, back in the mid-noughties. Champ Car often finished their season at AHR in Mexico City. But Yeah, it's a shame that that hasn't happened, and I'm not confident that it'll happen again in 27. I'll be honest, because it just doesn't look like it's ever going to fall their way. It would be nice for IndyCar to have another race outside of the States. We talked a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about Markham being announced that it'd be nice to have 2 races in Canada. So maybe at Montreal or wherever else. Be good to have one in Mexico. Be good to go back to Surface Parallel. You know, all these places that we could go back to for IndyCar. And just we always talk about it. Doesn't seem to happen. I don't ever feel like that Washington Street Race in America's birthday year next year, with all the things that are be happening in DC, was ever. I don't think it was even a starter, to be honest with you. So that's a bit of a disappointment that you know he's never even got off the ground. But you've got the Mexico City track sat there. You know it's going to be packed. We've seen that for Formula One. We saw it decently for NASCAR this year with the crowd that they got, and with the Pato factor, you know the people down there in Mexico are going to come and watch it. So if they can just figure out the schedule or the facilities or the transport, all the admin, all that kind of stuff, and get it on the schedule, I think it could be a huge event for IndyCar and another of these shining beacons that they kind of need. And again, another one outside the States, which again will bring more of an international viewership too.
Yeah, very disappointed to see that Mexico City didn't materialize. I really wanted to see this happen, because after seeing how the weekend went for NASCAR, it was really big for the NASCAR Cup and Xfinity Series, and having the Mexico Series there. Seeing Daniel Suarez win that Xfinity race and seeing how the crowd in the stadium section, just went wild for him. I want that for Pato, to experience a moment like that where he's driving through the stadium section, then the crowd is, just absolutely going wild for him. So for his sake, I hope that Pato will eventually get his Mexico City race. But I tend to agree with Matt. I'm not really confident about this happening in 2027 either. I'm going to keep my fingers crossed, that they can go back to the negotiating table, when everything settles down, and try to find the right date at the right time for this to work in 2027, because I think that IndyCar really needs to capitalize on Pato O'Ward's popularity right now. Because like I told you guys before, when Pato O'Ward, was in Mexico City last year, with McLaren for the Mexico City Grand Prix, he was doing like a meet and greet with the fans, and you literally had fans outside the door. Like, it was a massive line of people waiting to see Pato, who's not even a Formula One driver. He was just there for FP1 duties, which he's expected to do again later this year. So for now, Pato, the best thing that he can probably get is, being able to drive that McLaren Formula One car during FP1. That might be the closest that he'll get to having, to being able to participate in a race in his home country. But yeah, extremely disappointing to see this not happen, but really hope it happens in the future. And the reason why I'm really skeptical is, you mentioned Josh Mark Miles, the CEO and president of Penske Entertainment. I feel like he's let us on quite a bit over the years. Yeah, because I was looking at an article that I think Adam Stern from Sports Business Journal brought up. Mark Miles an entire decade ago, talking about how we want to race in Mexico. It's been a decade later, and we still haven't gotten a Mexico race. And and then he's also made promises, about going to this oval and that oval. Still haven't gotten those ovals, or trying to go to all these different locations. And to be fair, Markham, although it's, still in the Toronto area, new city, Arlington, Texas, brand new race. So I guess I'll give him credit for, getting those races together. But we've also seen, rumors about street races potentially in Denver, Pittsburgh, and some other locations as well. Those have not materialized, but it would finally be nice to get this across the finish line in the future. But at the moment, don't really feel too confident it's going to happen. But IndyCar, I really hope you go back to the drawing board and make this happen, for this series, and especially for Pato, because he deserves his race in Mexico City.
Yes, he really does, and I hope he gets that before he decides to retire, or Zach Brown puts him in for a Formula One car because Oscar's won the title. Matt?
To read Matthew's message, good evening to you, Mr. Owens. Definitely an improved schedule. Thanks to Fox for making it better, and they will continue to make it better in the coming years. I think it will be close to 20 races by 2028. Well, on that point, and on the Mexico point, while Kobe was speaking, I was just thinking about it. The only way I feel like Mexico will happen is if you have it on a Sunday against football. Go to Laguna Seca at the beginning of the end of the season, beginning of the NFL season. And if you have to have this race the week after, or maybe 2 weeks after, to get them down there and put it on USA or whatever, or FS1, do that for the sake of not the people that won't be viewing on the television. Look at the popularity you'll get from getting the people in the gate. And I just feel like it can, and it can be the big season finale. We've had all these races in the States, the championship's on. We're going to Mexico to celebrate and crown a champion. It could be a thing, at a Formula One circuit. Again, there's so many of those in the States. We don't use any of them in the IndyCar Championship. Go to an F1 track with a, even if Pato's in contention for the championship, what a big thing that would be.
Yeah, I'm going to say it. I think Miami would make quite a good IndyCar track.
The F1 track?
Yeah. It's been growing on me slightly, Miami. It's just year upon year, it's getting better and better. And every year we go there's a bit more drama, there's a bit more predictability. And I must admit, it's growing on me. The same with Vegas. I was taken, we said it in the commentary, didn't we? As soon as Vegas was done, after the first one, we were wrong. That was fantastic. Yeah. Miami's been a slow burn.
Would be, you would have to probably make that, if you're going to put an IndyCar race on at Miami, you'd have to have it either just before or just after the Grand Prix because of the build. And
because they've put Formula E. Yeah, they put Formula E there, haven't they, at the same time?
Long before, isn't it? So
it's more Formula E, Formula One, IndyCar, bang, 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 in the space of a month and a half. Let's do that. That'd be fantastic. Really bringing the popularity. Matthew also goes on, that DC race felt like a big social media rumor that just created out of midair. No way that was happening in the summer of USA, the 250 along with the World Cup. Well, if only we knew a politician who likes to make things up out of nowhere, who was in Washington, who said about holding a sporting event in the capital.
We held our tongues on this stuff last week for various things that were going on around the country, but we're back on it this week because he's here. Yeah. He's not there, and he's here in the UK.
Yeah, and we've greeted him with just the correct amount of
standing next to a person he shouldn't have been pictured next to. Anyway, let's move on.
Yes, giant flag, and then tonight, have you seen? It's been projected onto Windsor Castle as well.
Yeah, people have been arrested. Yes. All good fun and games.
Yeah. Oh dear, I can't wait to see what tomorrow is. Now, moving on from one, I can't say that, can I?
No.
You knew who I was going with it.
Yes, I did.
From one administration that is causing headlines to another administration that is causing headlines as well. The FIA has released the start times for the 2026 Formula One World Championship season. Now, it was previously announced that the Canadian Grand Prix race date would move up to Memorial Day weekend and take place on the same day as the Indianapolis 500 and the Coca-Cola 600, and that would be replacing the Monaco Grand Prix. Now, that is sliding back to early June. Many were concerned about a direct clash between Montreal and Indianapolis on the afternoon of Sunday, May the 24th. However, according to Chris Medland from Racer.com, F1 and the FIA spoke with IndyCar on this matter and agreed to move the start time of the Canadian Grand Prix back to 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, assuming that the Indy 500 keeps the start time of 12:45 p.m. Eastern, with no red flags or rain, the race should be over before the lights go out in Canada. The graphic courtesy there of the FIA. Now, you may have noticed some sprint times there, but Kobe's got more on that later on in the program as well. We're focusing mainly on this main topic, and Kobe, starting with you on this one. Are you relieved that all parties involved came to this absolutely sensible decision?
Yeah, like you said, Josh, assuming, this starts on time and we get through the race in a timely manner, I think that this was the right decision on all fronts, because I didn't want people to have to choose between the Indy 500 and the Canadian Grand Prix, because I think this race, correct me if I'm wrong, it started at 2 p.m. Eastern time, and I was right, 2 p.m. Eastern time. So this would have put it right smack dab in the middle of the Indianapolis 500. And then, both series, F1, IndyCar, the ratings, will probably take a bit of a hit. Although I do believe a lot of people be more focused on the Indy 500 than they would the Canadian Grand Prix on this day and time. And honestly, I still think the Indy 500 should move its start time up a little bit. It would be nice if we could get at a nice round number, noon Eastern time, dropping the green flag. But I'll even take 30 minutes sooner at 12:15, green flag, and then race should be well over. They'll also give you some extra time in case you get a red flag for a big crash, or it's just a cautions type of affair, or just like this year the start is delayed by rain. But even at the 12:45 p.m. green flag time, the race should be over before the Canadian Grand Prix at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve gets underway. And I'm really happy to hear that the FIA, Formula One, and IndyCar had direct conversations on this topic, and the F1 and the FIA decided that it was the best move to move the start time back to 4 p.m. And I know Memorial Day is going to look a little bit different now because it used to be obviously Monaco early in the morning for all of us here on the East Coast, and then at noon in the afternoon you get Indy, then in the evening Charlotte. But still, they will start a little bit later. You'll still get Indy in, and then assuming that race goes smoothly, then you'll be able to watch Formula One directly after Indy, and then still Formula One Canadian Grand Prix will be over before NASCAR's Coca-Cola 600 on Amazon Prime. So you'll still be able to get all three races in without any direct clashes. So I think that's a really good decision. I'm happy, all cooler heads prevail in this decision.
Yeah, remember how up in arms everybody was, and we were the same on this show when the clash was announced that it was happening. That would make Canada a 9 p.m. start for us in the UK and 10 for Central European time. So that's getting on to lateness for that race, but it is also generally one of the better, most exciting Grand Prix of the year. We've had some cracking races at Montreal over the last decade plus. I'm going to say something slightly controversial on this. The cooler heads have prevailed, but if you don't want to clash, you break tradition and you put the Indianapolis 500 on the Monday. Put it on Memorial Day, and then you can not have any clashes. And if someone's going to do the double, do it in reverse, and then people won't have to scramble to get to Charlotte, as Kyle Larson has done the last couple of years. We think that Kyle Larson double attempt thing is pretty much dead now. But if someone else was to come along and do it, they could do it the other way, and then you wouldn't have any clashes whatsoever. And Memorial Monday can be all about the 500. Mr. Owens is watching. I'm sure he's pulling his hair out, throwing his glasses at the wall and everything for the things I've just said. But it's an opportunity to make this go away completely by moving one of them. Maybe you don't do that for the 500. We'll see. But we have to guess and see how it goes. There's going to be some crossover. You just guarantee there'll be rain somewhere or a delay, as Kobe mentioned, some big yellow flag period or something at 500, which will then, because if F1's got the start time, they won't then move it because Indy's running behind. It will go off when it goes off.
Yeah, you want to go, Josh?
I'm just going to agree with him, but you go first.
Oh yeah, I was just going to say, Matt, that's a very interesting idea that I've never even considered before. I know, like you say, a lot of traditionalists out there will not like that, but people are not going to, for the most part, are not going to be working on Memorial Day here stateside.
Exactly.
And not going to be working because I know here at Grid Network, we always have our wrap-up show at noon Eastern time every single year because nothing's happening on Memorial Day. So maybe this could be a really good thing. And like you mentioned, the double attempts, which is a headache. Yeah, it wouldn't be on the same day, but you could run the Coca-Cola 600 on a Sunday night. Then Monday, you're free all day Monday. And then the Kyle Larson of the world would not have to worry about a single thing. So he could enjoy the experience, how to get to complete the entire race. Well, actually, let me take that back because sometimes it rains in Charlotte. So maybe he still might miss out on doing the double, but it would certainly make it a lot easier from a logistical standpoint where, you don't have this tight window where you have to try to be done by, let's say, 4 o'clock, 4:10, so you can get on the helicopter and fly down to Charlotte Motor Speedway. And also on the other side as well, I'm wondering if that could open the door for an F1 driver to run the Indianapolis 500, which would be really great, especially if we don't have a Grand Prix on the week before, the Indy 500, so they can run all the practice days, do the qualifying, then they can go to Montreal, run the Canadian Grand Prix, and then the very next day, go run the Indianapolis 500. I think that would be something that Zach Brown, would be very interested in. And I don't know if you guys saw the comments recently, but Lando Norris was praising IndyCar, and he said I've driven the IndyCar. I'm like, wait, when did you drive the IndyCar? I can't think of a time when Lando Norris has driven an IndyCar. And then I remembered that story that came out about a month ago, saying that Zach Brown was going to be doing a test, with a high-profile driver on an oval with an IndyCar. I was wondering, was that Lando? It wouldn't really make any sense, but I don't know, guys. I'm just throwing some things out there. But, Matt, overall, I think that idea would be really interesting if we ran it on Memorial Day Monday, when we could probably get a lot more people wanting to do the double, and maybe some F1 guys will give it a shot. Yeah, but I thought that was an interesting little nugget from Lando when he said that I've driven an IndyCar before, because I haven't heard anything on the record of him driving an IndyCar.
I can't find it. There's no record of that.
From memory.
Well,
certainly on their socials earlier in the week. So what you're saying, Kobe, is I've just saved motorsport. I'll take that. Thank you.
Well done.
It's also a bank holiday. That Monday is always a bank holiday for us in the UK also. So we wouldn't be in a predicament by rushing home to get home from work to watch it.
I have the ceremony sword. A bow, arise, Matthew. There you are. We knight you with the motorsport. Yes, we save you. Let's put that back down there. I agree with that. He's done something right regarding the start time for the Canadian Grand Prix. So 100%. IMSA used to race on Memorial Day at Lime Rock in the TT back in the... Yeah, there you go. I don't know my state's two initials. One problem, if it rains Monday, Tuesday race. Well, to be fair, it used to be on a Monday. It used to be on Memorial Day itself, didn't it? Before we moved it back.
Back in the 50s, it was always on the same day. It didn't matter what. It's always on the same date. It didn't matter what day it was.
Yeah, the 500. What?
I think that comment's gone awry. On a Monday, yes.
Yeah. The Memorial Day proper for decades, all the way into the 70s, no matter what day plan. Absolutely, yes. See, because then you've got the likes of Fernando Alonso, who's always wanted to do both, could do both. Max has said, trying to think who else would do it. Lance has said about it, hasn't he? Certainly, some of the American drivers who might be coming onto the grid soon might want to do it like,
and because of there not being any, if F1's calendar stays in its form that it's going to take from next year, with obviously Monaco moving, they could do the Miami Grand Prix, then do some practice and qualifying in Indianapolis, go up to Montreal and do that weekend, and then come down, as Kobe said, go to Montreal and then come down and do the race on the Monday. That opens that back up for current F1 drivers, whatever those people might be, if that ever would ever happen, to do that. And again, I'll say this like I said the other week about the Francesco Bagnaia thing. Mark it down. Wednesday, the 17th of September at 11:15 was when I said this.
Noted in ship's log. It's going to happen. I can't wait. This is going to be a great one. I'm just happy that I don't have to give up Formula One commentary. Fingers crossed. Although that'll only last a couple of races before we go to Barcelona in 2 races' time. And I have to give that one up thanks to the end of Le Mans. It's great.
Yes, I said, didn't I, when we talked about that before, why don't they make Barcelona a twilight race? Well, they haven't listened to me on that one, and it's still at its normal time.
Still don't even know what the official name of that race is going to be yet. They haven't announced it. It's not the Spanish Grand Prix, so probably is Catalan.
Yeah, and why is F1 still clashing with Le Mans? Can we please stop that? Like, it's just ridiculous.
One person who wanted to kill off WEC quite badly. Guess who?
It wasn't such a problem when it was the Canada race, of course, because it would always be after Le Mans was well and truly finished. But having a European race against Le Mans is not good.
It's just at least not a sprint, as far as I know. So let's return our attention back to NASCAR, because it's feeling a bit neglected tonight. Is the series we talk most about on this show. Early today, iRacing and NASCAR unveiled a trailer of the new console racing game NASCAR 25, which will be released next month on Tuesday, October 14th. Tomorrow, you should expect them to release long-form gameplay footage as they build up hype for the new game when pre-orders open. Now, last week, iRacing announced the list of tracks that will be playable each series. However, there was some confusion over some tracks that were missing. In the Cup Series, the Autodrome Hermanos Rodriguez in Mexico City is not on the list, but North Wilkesboro Speedway will be playable at the Cup level. Now, in the Xfinity Series, to our disappointment here at the Grid Network, Portland International Raceway is not listed, but Rockingham Speedway made it into the game. Now, on the other hand, there are plenty of traditional ARCA Menard Series tracks missing from the game, such as the Berlin Raceway, the Elko Speedway, both Illinois dirt tracks, Salem Speedway, and Toldo Speedway. But Martinsville, Richmond, and North Wilkesboro are playable in the ARCA game. Now, 3 tracks the series don't race at in real life. And a quick note, NASCAR 25 will be available on PC via Steam on November the 11th, and a graphic courtesy of iRacing. Well, Matt, unless they're adding in a later DLC package, it's sort of inexcusable for iRacing to omit tracks on the National Series schedule, like Mexico City and Portland, given how much time they've had to develop the game.
Well, interesting this, that they are not on the list, but fear not, because I think we may have them coming. Because let's face it, we know that the IndyCar game, which is coming next year, is an iRacing production and will obviously have to feature Portland. And also, in the last couple of weeks, I'm not an iRacing guy. I don't have a PC that I don't have a PC. I don't have a laptop that would run it. I'm console all the way. But they announced 2 weeks ago for iRacing that Mexico City is coming or has now been released with the F1 layout, the NASCAR layout, the Formula E layout, and the short track. So they're all there already. They just need to port them to console. So surely at some stage there's going to be these 2, Mexico and Portland, when it's done for IndyCar, coming, I would guess, one at a time or both together as a DLC between them. So I think fear not, NASCAR fans, that these tracks are not there yet. You would hope, though, with other things happening in the background, that they are there. But yeah, the pictures that they announced or the pictures on the Facebook, I think it was, I saw it, of them announcing Mexico on iRacing. Definitely one of the shots was of the Formula E loop inside the stadium where they go in and come back out the same way. So they've definitely got the Formula E loop as part of that pack for iRacing. So yeah, not good now, but perhaps good in the future. There was some people up in arms that you couldn't race the Cup cars at places where the Cup cars don't go. And to me, that's just silly. If you've not got made up tracks on the game, yeah, exactly, like racing the IndyCar at Knock Hill on Project Cars, it was just silly, absolutely stupid, and it wouldn't happen in real life, and it shouldn't happen in the game. And that's my 2 pennies on that.
Now going deep later on. I'm doing exactly that. Okay, let's go over then for the latest with the Grid ePay update with Matt White.
Thank you, Josh. Another massively busy Grid Endurance Performance Index weekend, week number 25 of the 2025 year. We're now up to 124 races scored out of the 152 race championship that we score for the Grid Endurance Performance Index, covering all of the endurance and GT championships from across the world. We'll start in Austria because the Red Bull Ring was the host this weekend for both the DTM and the ADAC GT Masters. We'll start with the DTM, and we'll start with Rene Rast winning on Saturday to keep his slim championship hopes still going. He was the Saturday winner for BMW. Sunday, a surprise winner with Ricardo Feller picking up the victory for the Audi squad. Coming out of nowhere, he's barely featured in the top 5 all year, but he picked up the win on Sunday. In GT Masters for the twin driver races there, Nico Hantka and Denis Bulatov getting the victory again in an Audi on Saturday. And the Ford in back of that shot was the winner on Sunday. Salman Avega and Finn Wiebelhaus getting the win for the Mustang team on the Sunday. So they were 4 of our races from the weekend in Austria. Staying in the middle of Europe and across the border in Germany at the Nürburgring. We talked about it last week with Max Verstappen. We'll keep that for now, and Kobe will bring you Verstappen news shortly in his news section. But let's see what happened in the races. Julian Andlauer and Joel Sturm were the winners on Saturday in the Falcon Tyres Porsche. This was the race that featured Max Verstappen. The class winners in that race, Christian Krognes, Matteo Villagomez and Andres Buchart winning in Pro-Am. And the Am winners were Mehmet Mustafa, Mike Stronsberg and Tobias Muller. On Sunday, Mustang victory there again, like in the ADAC GT Masters race. Vincent Kolb and Frank Stippler getting the win. Now, Frank Stippler was in that car, and he was also in the Pro-Am winning car, where he paired up with Alexei Veremenko and the man that goes by the abbreviation Selv. The mystery continues. They were the Pro-Am winners, so 2 entries and 2 wins for Frank Stippler on Sunday. So good day at the office for him. Mehmet Mustafa and Mike Strosberg also won in Am, but they were joined on Sunday by Ben Boonagel in a change to the driver lineup there. So a very good weekend for those guys as well. The big long distance race of the weekend was at Suzuka, where the Intercontinental GT Challenge continued its season with the 1,000 Ks, which didn't quite run to 1,000 Ks. It was 987 off the top of my head. A win for WRT, though. Raffaele Marcello, Kelvin van der Linde and Charles Weerts were the winners overall. We talked about it a few weeks ago. Scott McLaughlin doing that race in a Corvette. He finished 3rd with his team, so on the podium for Scotty Mack in Suzuka. So congratulations to all those guys. Silver Cup was won by Takayuki Aoki, Yuya Motojima and Yu Kanemaru. They've been traditional guys from the GT World Challenge Asia the last couple of years. Bronze was won by Richard Leet, Antares Auer and Loic Hartog. And Pro-Am was won by Jonathan Hui, Kevin C and Ben Barnicoat, getting a late call up to go down there to Japan and getting a win in Pro-Am. A bit more closer to home for me and Josh, certainly me, because it's only half an hour up the road at Silverstone at the weekend. A race which was, as you can see, massively affected by weather and included a red flag. Jamie Chadwick, Daniel Kadea and Matisse Joubert getting their 3rd win of the season in the LMP2 category and 2nd overall win, because they were beaten to the line at Barcelona but still won in class. So congratulations to them. And that's another big win for Jamie Chadwick. She's putting herself right in the firing line for a big seat in Hypercar over the next couple of years. Pro-Am was won by Algarve Pro Racing, Crichton Landuis, Alex Quinn and Ollie Caldwell getting another victory for that squad. Paul Lancher, Adrian Klossmeyer and Theodore Jensen won yet again in LMP3 for CLX Motorsport. They've won all 4 races in the championship so far, and there's only 5, one more to go at Portimao in a couple of weeks' time. And GT3 was won by Costidio Toledo, Riccardo Agostini and Lilo Adu as part of the Richard Mille driving squad there in their very soggy Ferrari. So big win for Lilo. The Iron Dames were in contention, but ended up finishing in 10th position. So not quite the result that they wanted. We'll keep up with those guys in the next Women in Motorsport show. They did have a good run on Saturday, though, in the Le Mans Cup race by winning that one. Let's have a look at what has happened to the EPI. I told you last week when we did this segment that the scores will change, and they have. We've got a brand new leader, or a re-leader, because Lawrence Van Voort was top of the point standings at the beginning of the year, and he is back to P1. He was 2nd in that race at Suzuka aboard a Porsche with Kevin Estra and Patrick Pilet. They were the driving squad there, and that bumped him back on top of Ollie Gray, who had a not such a good race at Silverstone, finishing in 9th position. Him, Esteban Masson and the team. So those guys have slipped down. Charles Weerts has bumped himself up into 4th. It's all changed. That's the 6th different leader of the Grid EPI this season. That is the most on record for the Grid EPI over its 3 or 4 years of running. So Van Voort back to the top. He gets a week off this week before the WEC reconvene in Fuji in 2 weeks' time. This weekend, though, we have IMSA, which we'll do pick a winner for in a little while. So if you're watching us live, get your pick a winners ready for IMSA at Indianapolis this weekend down there for them. GT World Challenge Europe has its final sprint races of the weekend. 40 cars at Valencia. That is going to be a crash fest, you can absolutely guarantee. And Super GT is back. They are at Sugo on Sunday as well, and Shota Tsubai, former leader of the Grid EPI and the championship leader there, hoping to bump himself up the points in our table and keep himself top of the Super GT points standings. Less than 27 races left to go in the Grid EPI of 2025. We'll give you the results of those races that I mentioned coming up at the weekend in the slot next week, and see if Lawrence Vanpool has managed to hold on to his re-lead of the Grid EPI for 2025. Time to hand over to Kobe. Plenty more headlines from the week that was.
Thanks, Matt. Time for some more motorsports news from around the world. British driver Freddie Slater will graduate from the Formula Regional European Championship to Formula 3 full-time in 2026. Slater is a highly touted prospect who currently leads the Formula Regional European Championship with 5 wins, 8 podiums, and 4 poles so far. He also competed in 2 F3 race weekends earlier this year at Bahrain and Spa. He finished on the podium in second place on debut in the Bahrain sprint race. Along with this opportunity to compete in F3, Slater will have to live up to some high expectations, as Trident has won the last 3 F3 titles with Gabriel Bortoleto, Leonardo Fornaroli, and Rafael Camara. Slater said he's excited to start a new journey with a new team and express how he's grateful to join an organization that's already achieved so much in F3 lately. Photo courtesy of Trident. And now some Trident-related news to its Formula 2 program. They've parted ways with both of their drivers, Sami Megatunov and Max Esterson. And starting this weekend on the streets of Baku, Azerbaijan, Formula 3 drivers Lawrence Van Hoopen and Martinez Stenshore will replace them in Trident's F2 lineup. Both drivers recently concluded the F3 season after the finale at Monza. Stenshore was the highest finishing rookie in 5th, while Van Hoopen finished 12th. Team manager Giacomo Ricci said the team was excited to sign 2 top-level and highly capable drivers, but understand that making their debuts on the streets of Baku will be a challenge since neither are familiar with the F2 car or the track. Photo courtesy of Trident. And as we mentioned on last week's show, 4-time Formula 1 world champion Max Verstappen took on Nürburgring's mighty and intimidating Nordschleifer circuit. Verstappen got behind the wheel of a Red Bull-sponsored Porsche Cayman GT4 car and competed in a 4-hour endurance race. He was able to fulfill all the requirements to earn his DMSB permit Nordschleifer. This means he earned his license to compete in the GT3 category in any race at the Green Hill, including one of the world's premier crown jewel endurance races, the 24 Hours of Nürburgring. On his website, Verstappen said he was happy that it went as smoothly as it could, and he had a good time gaining experience on this track during his F1 off weekend. And specifically, he noted the experience, running with the slower and faster classes, the Code 60 rules, different track conditions, the start procedures, and knowing which parts of the track have grip and which parts don't. Photo courtesy of Verstappen. 2025 USF Pro 2000 champion Max Garcia will move up to Indy next full-time in 2026. Garcia will drive the number 12 Dallara for Able Motorsports next year as a teammate of Miles Rowe, who recently re-signed as a series veteran now. The last 2 years have been magical for Garcia, who claimed the 2024 USF 2000 championship and had a great year to claim this year's USF Pro 2000 title. This year, he dominated USF Pro 2000, winning 9 races, 9 poles, and finishing on a podium 13 times in 18 races. The 16-year-old driver from Miami admitted that Indy next competition will be fierce, but he looks forward to rising to the occasion and contending with some of the best in the series. Graphic courtesy of Able Motorsports. And with McLaren departing Formula E, its star rookie from season 11, Taylor Barnard, the one on the right, has found a new home in the electric open-wheel racing series. DS Penske signed Barnard to pair up with Max Gunther for season 12 of the ABB F1 Formula E World Championship. Barnard made his Formula E debut in April 2024 at the Monaco E-Prix and became the youngest driver to compete in the series and the youngest driver to score points. In season 11, he became a full-time Formula E driver with McLaren and finished 4th in the championship. He also earned additional honors as the youngest podium finisher and pole sitter in Formula E history. Barnard said Formula E is a unique challenge, and he feels ready to keep building on what he's achieved so far, fighting at the front of the grid. Graphic courtesy of DS Penske. And Stellantis is staying in the ABBFA Formula E Championship for season 12, but they're swapping out the Maserati brand for Citroen. Yesterday, it was announced that they've signed Jean-Eric Vergne from DS Penske and Nick Cassidy from Jaguar TCS Racing to the Citroen driver lineup starting next season. Citroen will have a lot of Formula E experience in this stat pairing, as Vergne is a two-time Formula E world champion who's who's also second on the list of all-time in Formula E starts and 6 all-time in the wins column. Meanwhile, Cassidy brings 10 wins and 20 podiums on his resume after finishing second, third, and second in the championship in the last 3 seasons. Graphic courtesy of Citroen. And we briefly alluded to this during our F1 start times section, but Formula One announced the tracks that will host the 6 sprint races in 2026. Once again, the first 2 F1 sprints will take place in Shanghai and Miami. Montreal will host a sprint race for the first time as Silverstone gets a sprint for the first time since 2021 to conclude the sprint race calendar. Zandvoort and Singapore will get their first ever sprint. Stefano Domenicali, the CEO and president of Formula One, said that F1 sprint has continued to grow in positive impact and popularity since the format was introduced in 2021. Graphic courtesy of F1. And after finishing runner-up in this year's Formula 3 championship to Rafael Camara, we'll see Nicolas Soloff move up to Formula 2 full-time in 2026. The Red Bull junior driver will stay with the same team in F2 and remain in the Campos Racing family. Soloff, who is nicknamed the Bulgarian Lion, spent 3 years in F3 and showed improvement each year, finishing 22nd in year 1, 11th in year 2, and 2nd in year 3. In the 2025 F3 season, he won 2 races, the Bahrain Sprint Race and Monaco Feature Race, plus 4 additional podiums, and consistently scored points throughout the year to get second place in the championship. Soloff said he has great confidence going into 2026 because he's working with the same team in Formula 4 Spain and Formula 3, and now he gets to stay with Campos Racing in Formula 2. Graphic courtesy of Campos. And now some news that came down a little bit later in the afternoon. If you're from the world of dirt racing, Tony Stewart Racing, which has competed in the World of Outlaws Sprint Car Racing Series for the longest time, they announced they're going to be switching to the Kubota High Limit Racing Series in 2026 full-time, with series competitor Rico Abreu driving the number 24 wing sprint car. And this is certainly a big deal as Tony Stewart Racing. They announced in a press release that they're going to operate the High Limit Racing franchise currently held by Rico Abreu Racing, and the High Limit Series have approved the lease of the franchise to TSR. And Tony Stewart, Rico Abreu, 2 big names in dirt racing. This is a big deal for him and quite a change for Tony because, he's had Donnie Schatz in that number 15 car for many years now, and we also talked about several weeks ago, or it was a month ago, however long, that when he parted ways from Donnie, that changes were going to be coming to this program, and now he's got another big name driver in his car in a different series. And in a statement, Tony Stewart said that Rico Abreu has proven to be a tremendous talent behind the wheel, but also a great ambassador for the sport. He said Rico and him have been really good friends for a long time, and he's admired the way he races, and he talked about Rico's how he competes with passion and how he's the gold standard for the way he represents his partner in the sport. And Rico said that driving for Tony Stewart, his good friend, is a dream come true, and said that Tony has built one of the most respected programs in all the racing, and having the chance to represent TSR feels like a huge reward. And he said Tony's been a friend and mentor to him for many years, and to go racing with him in the High Limit Series is a real opportunity that he's excited about. And the photo courtesy of Tony Stewart Racing. And now we're going to end our segment with 2 sad news stories. And with this first one, 18-year-old GB3 championship driver Will McIntyre announced that he was diagnosed with brain and lung cancer. Before his diagnosis, McIntyre was 5th in the GB3 points, and that's where he finished in the standings last year. He's also a 4-time GB3 race winner and steps away indefinitely from racing to focus on himself with 2 rounds to go in the 2025 GB3 season at Donington Park and Monza. And you see here on the screen, Will McIntyre released a statement saying, "Hi, everyone. This is a very different post to unusual, but I'll just spit it out. Over the past few months, I haven't quite felt myself, and now it's starting to make a bit more sense as to why I've been diagnosed with both brain and lung cancer. Sadly, it's as serious as it sounds. The amazing team at Milton Keynes Hospital has already been incredible in helping put out a plan together for how I'm going to fight this. Unfortunately, this does mean I won't be racing for the foreseeable future, but rest assured, the second I'm able to, I'll be back behind the wheel where I belong. A massive thank you goes out to my family and friends for their support and to everyone who continues to back me through this unexpected detour. Hashtag I'll be back. And on behalf of everyone here at Grit Network, we wish young Will McIntyre and his family well during this difficult time as he battles cancer. And we hope that he'll overcome this and see him return to doing what he loves the most, being behind the wheel of a race car. And during the Repco Supercars Championship race weekend at the Bend, sadly, tragedy struck the Aussie racing cars paddock. As I pulled this statement up on the screen so I can read it, it says, "This with heavy hearts, we shared the heartbreaking news of Shane Mann's tragic passing. Aussie racing cars driver Shane Mann passed away in the paddock yesterday, surrounded by family and friends, leaving behind a void in our community. Yesterday, we lost one of our own. Shane wasn't just a competitor, he was a husband, father, friend, and smiling face, a true racer at heart. His passion and presence will be deeply missed by everyone who had the honor of knowing him. In memory and honor of Shane, his beloved number 21 race car will lead the Aussie racing cars grid on their formation lap of the last race. At 10:30 a.m., the front row of the grid will be left clear as a tribute to a great man. Our deepest thoughts and prayers are with his wife, Kelly, daughter, Matilda, and son, Alec, during this difficult time. Rest in peace, Shane. You'll always be a part of this family. And of course, the whole team here at Grid Network sends our deepest condolences to Shane Mann's family and friends during this difficult time, and may his memory be a blessing. And before I turn this over to you, Matt, for Pick a Winner, it seems like we mostly avoided these sad stories during the first few years of Grit Tonight. Maybe we got one every now and then, but now, especially this year, it seems like it's every other week. We've lost someone in the motorsports community, or like today's heartbreaking news, we have a talented young man from your country, Josh and Matt, who has his whole life in racing career ahead of him, and now he's in the fight of his life in such a scary situation. Everything changed in just the blink of an eye. And my message to all the viewers out there, I hope you all are appreciating every little moment of life, no matter how big or small it is. Just live life to the fullest and appreciate everyone around you, because none of us know when it'll be the last time, Matt.
Absolutely. And as I've been saying every single week when we come to the end of your news segment and we have this kind of story, next week we'll get through the end of that without having to talk about someone that's passed away, or in the case of young Will McIntyre, that's just a horrible situation. And our thoughts are with Shane Mann's family down in Australia, and Will Mac's family very much closer to home here in Bedford, not so far away from Milton Keynes. So the best to him, and give your loved ones a even harder squeeze next time you see them, just in case, because it does seem to be at the moment that we are losing people left, right and centre in the motorsport world, and that is a very sad thing. Some happier things to talk about to end the show. Before we get to Hots and Knots, it is Pick a Winner time. We have a couple of races to do through this weekend. There is the standings, so a few less green numbers on the totem. If you're in the top 10, you've still got a chance of winning. There are 43 points left on the table, and Kobe now has 3 points to try and catch to Mr. Matt B at the top of the standings. I keep forgetting to make picks, which is not helping me in third position, but I am still 1 point ahead of Tanner, which is good news. Josh, you are just about holding on there in ninth on 26, so you really need to get some points on the board. This weekend's Pick a Winner races as a total list is the NASCAR playoffs continue, of course, at New Hampshire on Sunday. That is just after the Grand Prix of Azerbaijan that we were talking about before with the F2 stuff. Formula One back in action. And we are about to pick for Indianapolis IMSA, which I mentioned in the EPI update. They won last year, and I'm going to go with them again. I feel like BMW, I've been on a bit of a march in IMSA over the last few races, and I am going to go with the 24 BMW to win on Sunday in the 6 hour at Indy.
I promise I'm not copying you, Matt, but I'm also going with the number 24 BMW, but I may change it depending on how things look in practice and qualifying. But yeah, BMW has really been on it lately. I think Dries Van Thor, Philippine, can get the job done again for BMW M Team RLL. And it's also really interesting how this team is really starting to find its footing now, right as it was announced that BMW is going to be parting ways with RLL, and that they're going to be bringing in Team WRT from the World Endurance Championship to run this program. next season in IMSA. Who you got, Josh?
I'm going to stay with my good old faithful pick, even though they haven't won since the first 3 races of the year. I'm staying with the number 7 Porsche because I think at a track now where it's more similar to where we were at the start of the year, they can really open up the taps a little bit and get into a swing of things as well. But I must agree with you both. The BMWs are looking very, very, very strong.
Porsche have been hit with a bit of a weight increase today. The BOP has come out today and they've been hit with some more weight, but we'll see. It was a topsy-turvy race last year, the battle on the bricks at Indianapolis with the rain and the long safety car periods and whatnot. BMW came out on top, and as Kobe mentioned, you don't have to pick straight away, but you've got all the way up until the green flag to get your pick in across the Grid Network TV social medias. Use the hashtag pick a winner, get yourself on the board. Adam is also going with the 24 BMW, so that's 3 of us, and Adam is in 7th position. You better pick Christopher Bell, says Matthew Owens for New Hampshire. Yes, on a roll at the moment is young Christopher. Let's move on to Hots and Knots, where we perhaps will talk about Bristol, but let's start with, I think, the hottest of hot, all of Sunday at Misano, all 3 races for MotoGP, Moto2 and Moto3, all of them sensational. Every single race.
Me and Megan literally were in the commentary box for MotoGP, and we looked at each other around about lap 9 and both went, how is that only lap 9? It was like everything was going off. It was brilliant. Moto3 was Moto3. Moto2 took a while to get into, and then the ending was really strong again. And MotoGP just was like, well, this is 9 laps of absolute hell. And then it quietened down a little bit, but of course it was going to be Mark winning. But I think, can I mention this as a hot?
Go on.
For the first time this year, someone other than a Marquez has won a sprint.
Yeah.
Well done, Marco Bezzecchi.
Living 10 minutes up the road, a sprint win and a second in the Grand Prix on Sunday. What a great weekend for Aprilia. Yeah, Mark was always going to win, especially after crashing out on Saturday when he just took the lead. But
my fault.
The Moto2 race, if Barry Bottas had one more lap, he would have won that race. It was a proper classic tyre race in Moto2.
Was the top 4 crossed the line separated by less than a tenth of a second again? Insane.
Something crazy. Yeah. So,
but
all of them excellent.
The Marquez crash was kind of my fault. I was saying in the commentary, I commentators cursed him, and bang, down he went. Oh. That was my fault. Sorry, guys.
People crashing in that left-hander.
Done that 4 times in my career in MotoGP alone. It's quite bad. Goodwood was good. I enjoyed Goodwood.
Yeah,
it was enjoyable.
That does always look like an excellent event. We'll get down there one year for it.
Look, I think I'm going next year. Yeah, somebody's birthday is bang on that in the middle on the Saturday, so it looks like I might be heading down. But Bristol, this is the big one, isn't it? Is it a hot or is it a not? Because me, Matthew, JT, and Jack are of the opinion that was one of the best races we've seen in a long, long time. It's not a gimmick to have tyre wear. It was a factor that happened, and it was sensational, the whole race. Forget what I said about Bristol in the spring. If we have that every time we go, I'll take Bristol every week. That was classic.
It was an old school kind of race. I caught up with it last night and in some back and forth messages with Matthew since the weekend. He said, you'll fly through Bristol. You'll get it watched in no time. And then it got uploaded to NASCAR's YouTube channel. It was 4 hours long. I was like, really? I'm going to fly through this, am I? And then he explained how many caution laps were. And that was pretty much half of the race duration in terms of time.
I think it was most since 1997.
Yes, something like that in terms of laps. Most caution periods on the year and most laps since the late 90s. Yeah, good race, really good race. And you had all the different strategies. It was hard to keep up with at times who was where in terms of tyres, but straight fight at the end. Brad Keselowski threw all of the kitchen sinks he could find at Christopher Bell on that last lap to try and move him out of the way, and he couldn't do it. But as Matthew mentioned when we were talking about pick a winner, Bell, strong, New Hampshire. He won that race twice for me last year. He won it in the dry, and then he won it in the wet. You can call Christopher Bell butter because he's on a roll. Very good. He's peanut butter and jelly. Getting everything fans asked for at Bristol was a hot knot. Fans being outraged that they got what they asked for at Bristol. Very good.
Yeah, it's exactly that. It's like, what do you want? It's nonsense because they have a go about the fact that they wanted some tyre wear. It didn't look like we were going to have it in practice. And then we got to the race and 30 laps in, bang, tyres are going down left, right and centre.
And it's the same tyre again this week at New Hampshire and at Martinsville in a few weeks' time. Exactly the same tyre package. Different of Bristol concrete, everything else tarmac. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Adam says, happy birthday to Jimmy Johnson. That is today, indeed. Happy birthday to old 7-time. And happy birthday to 1-time. It's Damon Hill's birthday today, too. NASCAR going back to his home track. And Christopher Bell winning at Bristol.
And happy birthday to Omi as well. Whose birthday is today. Yes. Yes, he's got a new headset as well, so he'll be sounding like us.
F3 connoisseur. Matthew also continues to say, I've said for a long time that the 600 should move to Memorial Day on Monday at 4 o'clock. Holiday sporting events have been getting great ratings. People we could do with perhaps we could do with the 500. Well, maybe.
Yeah.
In the ethers of the internet, Mark Miles.
He just wants to kill me. He wants to kill me, no sleep. That's what he wants to do.
Some of the best ratings for the original NBA on NBC were when they would always have a conference final game on Memorial Day. And we're seeing it more with the NFL on Christmas Day and all that kind of caper going on as well throughout the year. So I don't see why it can't happen with the final.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Although then again, Memorial Day on the 250th would be, it should have just made sense to do it. Two biggest races to come through. Social media was ablaze on Friday. This race is going to suck because there's no tyre wear. Fans on Saturday. This race sucked because he got tyre wear. Yeah, it did. And to be honest with you, we finished the 4:30, something like that. And we were like, this race should have been over at 3. It was mad. Blew past. But the viewers on our side were really strong.
Yeah, I heard. You had
45,000 watched it. And they watched 4 idiots shout at a screen because we was like, oh, another one's gone. Another one's blown up. Unbelievable. Loved it. And I can't wait for this weekend as well. Are you back on the call?
Yes. It's me and Matthew, just the two of us, on Sunday at Loudon. Hopefully I can get 3 out of 4 out in this round again like I did last week. I will mention that I had SVG going through because this was not the heart was not talking to the head. Didn't quite make it. But I did have Cindric going out and he was next above the cut line.
Oh, so I got close.
I was almost there. I was almost there with my 4.
I want to go with a knot. We haven't talked about knots because there hasn't been that many. The knot has to be Josh Berry. How much bad luck will one guy have?
How many ladders did he walk under? Black cats, smashed panes of glass, all of that he had over the last 3. What a terrible 3 weeks that 21 teams had for various reasons. Just
crash, smoked.
Yeah, smoked out. He'll win on Sunday. You watch. Now he's out.
Yeah,
he'll end up winning the race. I have a knot which I just remembered, and it comes from the F1 Academy. They have been testing somewhere. I didn't click on the link because the link said on their Twitter, Ella Lloyd fastest in but the text in the tweet said Chloe Lloyd tops. No, who is Chloe Lloyd? Social media admins, do better.
That's embarrassing.
Yeah, that was just this afternoon.
Ooh, Navarra.
That's it. Yes, I knew it was somewhere that it wasn't a Grand Prix track. But yeah, Chloe Lloyd. So Ella Chambers is going to be in the next F1 Academy race.
Congratulations, I think, to Abby Pulling on getting on the podium as well. A couple of races ago. Yeah, that was a good, strong one. Wow. And Josh Baker played 349 laps in the round of 16. Chase Briscoe led 409 laps in the round of 16.
That's madness.
Ooh. Do we go? Yeah.
Chase Briscoe every week becoming more of an outsider for this championship, just quietly. He's having an
It's
excellent
getting
run.
scary how close he's getting, isn't it? And,
Mm.
well, to be fair, Larson and Hamlin, we all said going in, oh, they'll dominate at Bristol. Both of them throwing it into the wall.
Yeah, both had a shocker.
That was unbelievable. And very nearly getting towards the cutoff line as well, coming into it for Larson. So that was daft.
Yeah, well,
The New Hampshire does have a cool trophy with a lobster. That's true. Although not many vegans would be appreciative.
let's hope they avoid the rain that they had last year, although it did make for a good race with, as I said earlier, having 3/4 of a dry race and 1/4 of a wet race to finish at New Hampshire.
Unfortunately, we've got wet tyres, haven't we?
Yes,
forgot
so
that.
we have the wet option at New Hampshire because it's a mile or less. So there is that, and then, of course, it has no lights. So
yes,
we have light issues to worry about, but we may have rain. I think the weather is going to be fine. So
wait, hang on. That means that we're having to do it on a Monday.
And I think it's a 7 p.m. start for us, Josh. So we'll be
Yes, it is.
way out of the way before even 10 o'clock, hopefully.
Get in an early night on a Sunday. Yes. I just had to say thank you, God. So with that, there are a few changes because everything's on early this weekend. Even Formula One is on a couple of hours early. The latest we go is going in. Yeah, 0 chance of rain on Sunday. That's still fine. That still means we get out by 10.
Just means it's going to rain about 1 minute before the green flag flies.
Yeah. Although, who did the? Oh, I don't know. It wasn't Dover. Was it Dover? Or was it the week before when Bill Murray was there?
Gateway.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, that was weird. So, taking a look at our upcoming schedule, you can stay tuned for the Grid Live pre-race. That's previewing Formula One in Azerbaijan and NASCAR in New Hampshire. The Sunday Grid Live wrap-up is 90 minutes after the NASCAR Cup Series race at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Monday, Grid Encore is at 7 p.m. Eastern, recapping trucks at New Hampshire, ARCA at Salem, and Formula 2 at Baku. Please do continue to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you for helping us reach 1,700 subscribers. We're now inching closer to our next milestone of 2,000 subscribers. You can hit the bell icon to get notifications so you'll always know when we go on the air, and follow all of our social media platforms and visit gridnetworktv.com. You can take 5 minutes to invest in the Grid Network through Patreon. You can join Colin, Mark, Joshelle, Robin, David, and Matthew, who invest each month in the Grid Network. And we encourage you to join these fine folks to help us keep us on the air. And once we hit $500 per month, we can afford to send our teams to chat more often and continue growing our media outlet. The link to all of that is in the video description below. And if you want to make a one-time donation, you can click on the Buy Me a Coffee link, get your name on the board, and invest as much as you want. And consider buying a specific on-air personality a cup of coffee, and they will thank you on the air. What a show tonight as well. Lots to talk about, lots to do stateside, and it's going to be a great weekend. So for Kobe Lambeth and Matt White from Grid Endurance Performance Index, I'm Joshua Birch from JB Motorsports. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.